The 2020 bubble was a fluke? Nope. The Miami Heat have made it clear that they are legitimate contenders after knocking out the Bucks and the Knicks and advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals. And Jimmy Butler has been balling at such a high level that he got permission from Pat Riley to unretire the number 23 that was for Michael Jordan. But of course he declined, because that's just the kind of player that Jimmy is. Butler might as well be Michael Jordan though, because between the 56-point masterclass against the Bucks to basically knock them out of the first round, to battling an ankle injury against the Knicks, Jimmy Butler has been balling at the highest level and willing the Miami Heat to wins. But what if I told you that even if Butler doesn't win it all this year with the Heat, they've already done something that could cause one of the biggest trades in NBA history. Going into the NBA playoffs, the Miami Heat were pretty much written off as championship contenders. Despite making it into the playoffs, the 1-seed matchup against the Bucks just seemed like it would be too much for the Miami Heat to handle. But little did we know, Jimmy Butler would turn into a whole nother player and take over this series. Between Giannis Antetokounmpo's injury to poor coaching decisions by Mike Budenholzer, the Bucks absolutely blew this series to the Heat in 5 games. Most people are going to blame this series loss on Giannis's injury or the coaching, like I said, but the truth is, this series exposed that the Bucks have an expensive, old, and fragile roster that can't win without Giannis at full strength. The Bucks were championship favorites and the most likely team to win in the East, but because of this Heat upset, it could cause Giannis Antetokounmpo to demand a trade from the franchise and shake up the entire NBA. Looking at the Bucks roster, it's honestly not that surprising that they're in this sticky situation. This team had the oldest average age per player in the NBA at 29.47, a whole year higher than the second team, which happens to be the Miami Heat. Although experience comes with age, so do injuries. The two co-stars of the Bucks, Khris Middleton and Jrue Holiday, only played 33 and 67 games in the regular season. Not to mention, Giannis struggled with an injury in the playoffs. This normally wouldn't be a huge deal for a team, but the Bucks are extremely top-heavy, with their 3 stars making up $115 million of their cap space, while all the other players who play meaningful minutes only add up to $42 million combined. Obviously, it's pretty common for NBA franchises to invest heavily into their stars, but I think it's safe to say that Middleton and Holiday aren't exactly living up to their contracts. And based on the recent news, it looks like both of these stars could be leaving the team sooner than people think. Khris Middleton has a player option this summer for $40 million that he is almost guaranteed to decline because he wants to try and get at least one more big contract. And Jrue Holiday, well, his situation is completely different. Although Holiday was recently voted the best defender and most underrated player in the entire league by NBA players in a poll, he said that he might be ready to walk away from the game of basketball altogether.
When you're done.
My wife had this conversation, I think it was 2 days ago. She was like, "Are you serious after this contract? Like, are you serious about retiring?" I'm like, "Yes, like I feel very strongly about it."
Yeah, Jrue Holiday basically came out and said that he's probably retiring after his current contract. Between Middleton and Holiday likely leaving the team soon, the future of the Bucks is looking unstable. So unstable that the Bucks co-owner Mark Lacey sold his half of the team for $3.5 billion. Red flag after red flag is popping up for this Bucks team, and for many insiders, it's a matter of when Giannis leaves, not if. But what does this have to do with Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat? Sure, they caused the Bucks to have an early exit from the playoffs, but even Giannis himself said that this season was not a failure for Milwaukee. Well, the odds were just released for the team that has the best chance to land Giannis if he demands a trade, and none other than the Miami Heat had the best odds to land the Greek Freak. This would be one of, if not the craziest moves of all time. I mean, how often do you see someone of Giannis's talent on the market, let alone be traded to the team that just dismantled them in the playoffs? Sure, KD left the Thunder for the Warriors, but that was in free agency. If the Bucks were to actually trade Giannis to the Heat, they'd be waving the white flag for their franchise and throwing in the towel, not to mention completely blowing up their roster. But the question is, could this actually happen? Obviously, Giannis would have to publicly demand a trade for any of this to work, and the signs of him doing this are there. The man made it clear that he probably won't even stay with Milwaukee right after he won the championship, saying, quote, "I just love challenges. What's the next challenge? The next challenge might might not be here. If Giannis's next challenge is somewhere else and he demands a trade, there are two realistic destinations based on the odds, fit, and trade packages, one of which is the Miami Heat and the other being a team that would create a dynasty for years to come. There have been two main trades that have been floating around regarding how the Heat could actually land Giannis, but it really all depends on what the Bucks want to do for their future. In the first potential trade package, Miami would send off Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Gabe Vincent, Nikola Jovic, and 3 first-round picks for Giannis. This trade would give the Bucks some solid young talent and picks to build towards the future. However, in this trade, there would have to be a third team involved probably, because 3 picks in itself isn't enough to get Giannis unless there is a ton of young talent included in the trade, and I wouldn't exactly call Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson that. Either way, this trade would definitely cause the Heat's depth to take a hit, but when you have the chance to get someone like Giannis, that's just a sacrifice you're gonna have to be willing to make. The second Heat trade is probably the more realistic one. Here, the Miami Heat send out Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, and draft capital, which would probably be 2 first-round picks for Giannis. This would give the Bucks the young talent they are looking for, and the Heat would not have to get a third team involved or send more picks than they want to. Now, losing Bam would be a huge hit for this Miami team, and if they win a championship this year, their odds of making this trade go down significantly, but like I said before, it's Giannis, and that's just the type of player you have to give up. You already know that there would be some teams offering half their roster to get this man, so giving up Bam is a small price to pay when you think about it. This trade would leave the Heat with a core of Jimmy Butler, Giannis, and the same core that the Heat has now if they choose to bring everyone back, which would be a dangerous team to say the least. Miami definitely has the assets to get this done, but the team with the second best odds to land Giannis if he demands a trade would change the landscape of the NBA even more. You guessed it, the Golden State Warriors. Yes, the dynasty could be revived after a tough second round exit, and you know that Giannis and Steph would do damage in the league for years to come. The fit between Giannis and the Warriors is just obvious. The man has never played with a guard that's at the caliber of Curry. The Warriors are one of the most winning basketball teams of all time, and they could use a new star to keep their dynasty going. The two versions of this trade that make sense for both sides are the Warriors sending off Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kuminga, and cap filler along with 3 first-round picks for Giannis. Similar to the Heat trade, this gets the Bucks some solid young talent and picks to build towards their future and their rebuild. There could be some potential issues getting this trade done with the new CBA restrictions in the new deal, but there are likely ways around it for a team like the Warriors who generate so much money for the NBA. The second trade is the exact same as the first one, except swapping Jordan Poole with Andrew Wiggins. This is likely the trade that the Bucks would take because of Poole's absolute failure in the playoffs and Wiggins' upside on the defensive end of the ball. Normally, I'd say that a team like OKC, who has a ton of assets, would be the favorite to get Giannis, but you already know that he'll have a say in where he goes and he'll want to be in a big market. Because after all he's done for the Bucks, there is no way they do him dirty. And well, Miami and Golden State are two of the best franchises in the NBA that also have the assets to make this move happen. Regardless of whether or not any of these trades go down, time is only ticking faster for Giannis and the Bucks. And he really could ask out of Milwaukee at any time. If Middleton walks this offseason and the Bucks don't make any major moves, don't be surprised if we see Giannis come out and demand a trade this summer. And just remember, a lot of it is because of the one man that tore down the Bucks this playoffs. The same man who has the best chance of getting Giannis this offseason, Jimmy Butler.